I thought this was a good field to give you some examples of how we're taking care of our perennial plots. And what's really nice about clover, I like clover for small pass-through plots, and we've built our acreage up enough on this property. You can look at it either two ways. Either you have teeny tiny plots that are 1/8 of an acre, 1/10 of an acre, 1/20th of an acre, and in that case, a lot of times, because you're not going to fill your property with deer during the growing season, which you don't want to do, because you don't want that carry over into the fall where they're eating your food, and especially your food plots, and eating you out of house and home. What you really want to do though is, if you have those tiny little plots, they're perfect for clover on a small property, because it establishes a pattern of use during the summertime, and then there's carryover during the hunting season. Last year I shot bow on a plot. There wasn't a lot of food on that plot. I don't even know if he was in there to take a nibble. He was just passing through looking for does. And that's what happens. They get used to coming into it. And so then there's the flip side. When you have a lot of food plot acreage, a high amount, you want to have enough to have deer in every area of your property. You want to support your property, no matter if it's 40 acres, 20 or 200. And then you start thinking about, where can I have these pass-through clover areas for turkeys in the spring, to get some pictures of bucks during the summertime, but really establish that pattern of use, so that those are in areas, like for example, we have a redneck blind right here where we can actually bow hunt this area, but areas where you could actually bow hunt in the fall and set up that movement. So we love watching these during the summer, but these are really important for pass-through hunting plots in the fall. Now, when we start getting larger, like a 1/4 acre plot, 1/2 acre plot, that's maybe a long strip that we can actually bow hunt still, because it's narrow, we get into an outside corner, not potentially spook deer, then in that case, I might use more of our brassica on one side, our power greens on the other, something where we have that really big amount of diversity, because we expect that food plot to last for the season, because it has the complement of bigger plots around it. Maybe this is a 1/2 acre strip, and then we have a 2 acre food plot over here 100 yards away. So it just becomes a pass through, but it's big enough to have that diversity. This one right here is about a 1/4 acre, so I really like to have it in clover. That being said, what's great about clover is you can maintain it for years and really have a good stronghold on that clover, have a really good representation, and you really shouldn't suffer in quality with that clover plot. I'm going to talk about the differences. Even if you can see right here where clover has taken over, and you can see how thick this is. This is fall planted last year, and you can see what it's done in the spring here. Very lush, very thick. And when it's thick like this, it has a tendency to choke everything else out around it. When you get into a little bit more open clover over here, and you can see where when you have holes, it allows weeds to come in. And no matter what anyone says, weeds are not good. These weeds come in, and the deer don't like them. That's why they're all taller than the clover right now. The clover's all nipped. The weeds come in. The deer might eat them during the summer. Some call that diversity. I call it garbage, because if weeds take over this area, this open area right here, then we're not going to have any clover, and that's going to just be a dirt patch going into the hunting season. We don't want that. Then we lose the value of this food plot, especially on small parcels. You really want to get every acre you can, and you don't want to say, well, I have 50% of weeds in the plot, so we'll just give up 50% of that volume going into the fall and hunting season. The hunting season is when you need this the most. There's so much food around here that the deer are not wanting during the summertime, so you really got to take care of the weeds. It's critical. But you can see within this stand, you go right over here, how we have this thick, luscious patch of clover. Then you go to some areas of more open spots, and you can see some small young clover coming in. And then we go to an area that's thicker, and some open spots, some thicker spots. But where you can see where it's thick, it's consuming. So this area right here, and you can see where all these stems are eaten. That's why this clover is lower. These deer eat this, they don't eat this. So we have to take care of this. It's kind of like the switchgrass. You have to give it some love when it's young, take care of it, and it'll really reward you. There's a few different ways to look at taking care of this. One of the easiest ways is mowing. In the UP of Michigan, decades ago, first clover fields, 99, 2000, I didn't have a lot of equipment, didn't have a lot of money, and I found with a straight shaft line trimmer, I asked for one for Christmas. That was my Christmas present the one year. You know why? Because I wanted to mow my clover with it. That was the main thing. Yeah, we can do a little around the house, but that was my brush hog. And so I found that with a straight shaft line trimmer, straight shaft because they're typically a little bit more durable, a little bit more of a commercial grade, but I could cut about a 3-foot path like this and walk at about this speed. And by experience, it takes about 2 hours an acre. It's really not that bad. You know, for example, in here, we're talking about a half hour to mow it if I had to with a straight shaft line trimmer. Mowing is probably your best friend because, like the switchgrass too, when you mow, we'll skip back over to an area over here. When you mow in some of these areas, there's a lot of clover and there's a lot of young clover mixed within these weeds. You mow these weeds down, that allows that clover to get that full sunlight and get the best volume of growth, and it helps it eventually choke out those weeds around it. So mowing is a great solution. I like this. Like if we had this amount of volume and we were taking that into the hunting season, that'd be perfect. That'd be a really good volume where it's 8-10 inches high. So I don't want to mow this, say, third week of September, mid-September. That last mowing might be Labor Day for us, especially if I see rain in the forecast. It's growing aggressively. But, you know, I think in the UP of Michigan, because the deer didn't hit it that much during the summertime, it was more of a fall food source. They had food everywhere. They didn't need to hit it, which is telling too. You have good food, they don't eat it. It's kind of telling of not the quality of the food, but that they have food everywhere. And in the case of like a lot of our northern extreme areas, there's so much food in the natural habitat for deer, and there's so few deer to consume that. There's 5 times greater the amount of food and forage in the natural native habitat, especially out on public land where it's just all vast. There's tons of food for them. The time where it gets lean is fall, and then certainly winter is that lowest hole in the bucket where there's not a lot of food available. So you can mow this. We'd mow it 3 times sometimes in the UP of Michigan. The perennials, we keep that clover down and mowed. Now there's another thing, you can spray clethodim. If you have grass, and we've pretty much taken out the grass. Grass to me is the easiest to take care of and take out with our pre-emergent in the summertime, planting more in the fall. Actually rotations of spraying and herbicide before that, then we've taken out our grass. But if you have a grass problem, you have to be very careful it's not sedge. Sedge has a real pointy leaf to it. It's triangular, it's stiff. Sedge is a broadleaf. It looks like grass, it's a clump. So we don't have any out here, but that was common in northern areas where I had food plots before. And I purchased some clethodim back in the day. It might have been called Post at that time. And it was a lot of money for me to spend. I remember it might have been a gallon and it was maybe $125. It was a lot of money to me. And so I went to spray that on there and it wouldn't remove it. And so Jim Islam from the Soil Extension at the county in Elger County came out and looked at my plots. He said, well, you have sedge. That's a broadleaf. That clethodim's not going to touch it. And I felt kind of stupid. We didn't really have grass to spray up there, so I wasted some money on some clethodim. But when you have grass in your food plots, clethodim will take it right out. And so clethodim is a great solution to getting grass out of your food plots, mowing. And then you can also, if you just have pure clover, you can use 2,4-DB. 2,4-DB will not kill the clover. But at the same time, we have alfalfa in here, we have chicory, then we have bird's foot trefoil within our blend. I want that diversity. You see even some of the clover here, some of the leaves have different colors on them. Some are huge, big leaves, and then you have the smaller leaves, more tender shoots. We have that diversity in there. That's what deer like. It gives you more volume overall. And so I don't want to take 2,4-DB and kill out some of the good stuff. The chicory is a nurse crop for the clover. We have the right percentage of chicory in the mix so that it shades out the clover during extreme heat. Chicory is drought resistant. It's not as valuable as forage in most locations as clover, alfalfa, bird's foot trefoil, but it serves a purpose. I've even had, long time ago, one side of the plot with chicory, one side not. We used to test a lot of different pounds per acre of chicory to see what was the best. This one had none. This one had the right amount right here. This side was yellow, droughted out, low volume, half as high. This side over here that had the chicory, darker green, really pretty, and then full of chicory, and that chicory acts as a nurse crop and keeps it protected during drought, and then in this case it was light soil, sandy soil. So 2,4-D is an option if you only have clover. I wouldn't recommend a mix that only has clover, because you get some of this good stuff. There's value in all of it. Bird's foot trefoil, for example, is a wetland area plant. So it grows in really moist soil, damp soil, heavy clay. Chicory brings nutrients up from deep down. It has a really good taproot. Acts as a nurse crop, helps shade clover out, gives it volume. Alfalfa is very drought resistant, has a long root system that goes down into the ground even in light soils. It can persist. So I like all of those for a reason. One of the things I found, most of those broadleafs are really resistant to Roundup, and clover especially. I don't like when we have young clover like this that's not even a year old. If this is more towards next year, so year 2 of my clover, then I'll hit this with 1 quart per acre of glyphosate. It won't kill the clover. A lot of times it doesn't take out the chicory. You need 2,4-D, alfalfa. A lot of alfalfa strains are Roundup ready and resistant. So it really, though, hammers the weeds that are in here, depending on the weed, and especially your grasses. So 1 quart per acre of glyphosate is a great tool in the future, and that would be year 2 of your clover. And I like to do that right before rain. If you do it right before a drought, you can really stress out the clover. A lot of people don't realize that glyphosate doesn't kill everything. Glyphosate is not a do-all. It's a do-all, but it does nothing really that great. Kills grass pretty well. But what it doesn't do is kill clover. Clover persists to a very high degree. Chicory, a lot of broadleafs. But it is an option, 1 quart per acre, and during that second year, before rain, and to help maintain your perennials. So a few different ways to maintain your perennials and your clover plots. We'll show this as time persists here, but this will fill in really nice, and then we'll maintain it. I've maintained 1 clover field in the UP of Michigan for 10 years, and then we actually sold the property after that. So that was with a lot of mowing with a handheld line trimmer, then eventually a brush hog, spraying glyphosate on it at 1 quart per acre about every 3 years. And then clethodim for grass you could have used if there was grass in that situation. But that clover field was beautiful, and it was beautiful year 2 and year 10. Take care of these perennials. I see far too many people replanting perennial fields, and it's not because they couldn't have taken care of it and gotten it to a good level of quality. And it's not because that clover field was of poor quality when they took it out. It was that they didn't maintain the clover and perennial and take care of it along the way. And again, if you do that, just like switchgrass, it'll take care of you. Switchgrass will last for decades. And even clover, if you plan on planting it, at least do yourself a favor, take care of it, and plan to get 10 years out of it. And those are some of the ways that we plan to take care of our clover, and especially in these small little kill plot areas adjacent to a big food plot over here. This one over here, we have the diversity of the brassica, the green blend, and corn. And that's where it gets up into that bigger size. But consider how you can take care of your clover for many years. It'll take care of you and your deer herd, and be a joy to have on the property. And just got to take care of it, and give it a little love, and it'll love you back. Hey guys, thanks for watching the video. I really want to encourage you to check out digital land management through whitetailstrategy.com. These concepts that I manage for and that I go to clients, 1,600 clients in 26 states over the last 20 years, we're putting into a digital platform. So you can take those concepts and you can apply it to anywhere a whitetail roams. Doesn't matter if it's private land or public land. For example, on private land, you could take a food plot, add it to this location, see how it hurts you or helps you in the whole scheme of morning hunting, afternoon hunting, add a cabin, add a road. Check out parking spots on public land where you think clear cuts are, and see how that affects your overall hunt with multiple properties in any state where whitetails are and where you hunt. Check it out. Be some of the first to sign up. Check out whitetailstrategy.com. Follow the link, sign up, answer the questions, and we can give you more when we have it available. Thank you.